Hey everybody, it's Invalid and welcome back to the Q&A response stuff, where I'm answering your questions. And this is going to be the final video for this Q&A session. You guys got a good number of questions in. So we're just gonna get started and finish them up here. MPJ Vending asks, what editor do you use? I use several editors actually. For images, I use GIMP. It's kind of a Photoshop-like picture editing software that's also really good for making artwork. I use that for still images and stuff like that. For audio, I use Audacity if I'm recording my voice. I mean, right now I'm recording my voice in Audacity. It's also freeware, and it's really good at what it does, which is recording and editing sound files. So that's my audio program. And my main video editor it used to be Sony Vegas Movie Studio 9 HD. I have since upgraded to, what is this one? Movie Studio Platinum 12. And the reason I did that is because more video tracks available, more audio tracks available, and more editing options available. So, you know. And also more output formats. I could not do MP4 on Sony Vegas 9 for the life of me. So yeah, those are the editors I use for the most part. Have you ever been to Tennessee? I have not been to Tennessee. The furthest west I've been on the East Coast is West Virginia. I've been really close to the border of Tennessee, but I haven't actually been in Tennessee. So, yeah. I do know a few people from there, though, and they're an interesting bunch. I like them. But I haven't been to Tennessee. Imad Ewazim has more questions. Are you married? I am not married, and I don't plan to be for a good while. Maybe when I'm like 26, 27. I couldn't give you an age. I mean, I'm 20 now. I don't plan to get married anytime soon. I still have a whole world to explore, you know? So no, I'm not married. And did you ever think about making a video about watching one of your old videos from 2009? I actually have, and I don't know. I guess I could do that for like a 2K subs thing or something for hilarity purposes. Some of those older videos, you know, the recording itself wasn't actually bad. The commentary was pretty good. Video quality was kind of okay. But my editing skills were not up to par. Especially when compared to my Carnivore Cities. You know what's actually funny? My funny moments on my Carnivore Cityscape videos, I think were the best I ever did. And the sad thing is, I deleted 80% of them because of copyright bullshit. And I'm so sad about that. I would love to go back through those and watch those again because I had a blast making them, and up to the day that I deleted them, they still made me laugh. I miss that. It was one of the, that's one of the few decisions I regret, is deleting those videos. But yeah, I got a couple videos that are low quality, not great. So I've thought about making videos about watching those. Obviously I haven't actually done it yet, so I guess that could be something you guys could make some input on, is doing that, if you're interested or not. So, yeah. Lady Flashheart asks a good number of questions as well as complimenting. Will you do the Lego version of Harry Potter as well? That's on my list of games to play. I'm not planning on doing them immediately in the near future, simply because there's a lot of other Harry Potter stuff to do, and a lot of other non-Harry Potter Let's Plays that I would like to do as well. But at some point, those will more than likely be showing up on this channel. So, yeah. And her other questions. If you could have one superpower, what would you want? One superpower. This is always kind of a tricky question because there's so many possibilities. If I was to have one superpower. If I was to have one superpower, I am coming up with two things. The first of which would be the ability to slow down time. And for anyone who's wondering what I mean when I'm saying slowing down time and the definitions involved in that, read Hyperion. And specifically, I'm thinking about the Shredder when it comes to this. And basically what the Shredder can do is slow down time as much as he wants, or as much as it wants, I suppose. Anywhere from like half the speed to 1,000th of the speed. So it's like literally blinking in and out of existence because he's moving so fast. You know, first he's one spot and then he's here. You know, he's across the room and then suddenly he's around, suddenly he's hugging you. And other times it's like he's just like moving really fast in a blur, but just that ability to slow down time, I think would be what I would like. The second possibility, and this one I think is more what I would really want. The time slowing down thing is really cool, but the one that I would really want is the ability to manifest whatever I want instantly. I think that would be my favorite thing because then I could get anything I pretty much wanted. So I think in reality, the ability that I would want, the superpower I would want, is the ability to manifest anything I wanted instantly. So yeah, that's probably the power I would really want, because then I could just like I could augment myself to go really fast or get really strong or something like that, and produce, I don't know, a new set of teeth or something like that. Even though my teeth are perfectly fine, it's just like, well, I can eat all the crap I want, but I'm gonna be the healthiest person in the world because that's what I want to be, right? So, a lot of potential for abuse in that one. But yeah, manifesting whatever I want instantly. That would be my superpower. What is your favorite TV series or movie? Again, another one of those favorite questions. I always have a hard time answering these because of the fact that it's like it's hard to choose one favorite. Because there are those really good movies out there, like the A++ ones in acting and stuff like that, that tell a really good story that I absolutely love. But then there's the really goofy shows or the C+ movies that are just so bad you have to love them. My favorite, I guess I'll answer both. I can answer favorite TV series and my favorite movie. So as far as favorite TV series is concerned, I would probably have to say probably Vicar of Dibley. And that is a British television show that aired it was early 90s, I think. Pretty sure it was early 90s, and that show is a hoot. It's intellectual, it's stupid, it's funny, it's got everything aside from the whole superpower thing. I really enjoy it. It's a rather short show, but we have all the episodes on VHS, and we know most of the episodes by heart. My parents and I. It's good. It's a really good show. It's one that we pull out very often. Very often. It's probably one of our most used tapes at this point in time. It's good. And my favorite movie, this one's a bit trickier. The first one that's coming to mind is Evil Alien Conquerors. It's a really terrible movie with a really low budget that is perhaps the most hilarious thing I've ever seen. I love that movie. It's a terrible movie, but it's great at the same time. It's kind of talking about that whole goofy, it's so bad it's good vibe that I was talking about earlier. I absolutely love that movie. However, if I was to say my favorite movie of all time, I'm really torn between Phenomenon with John Travolta and Crocodile Dundee with Paul Hogan. Those three are like my main. They're my gig. I'm a huge Godzilla fan, by the way. In case that wasn't apparent in some of my in some of my videos, I'm a huge Godzilla fan. But as far as favorite movies are concerned, it would have to be one of those three that I mentioned: Crocodile Dundee, Phenomenon, or Evil Alien Conquerors. Really, really short. Crocodile Dundee is kind of obvious. It's about a white man in Australia that was raised by the Aborigines there, the Bushmen, from a really early age, and he knows their ways. And a television, well, not a newspaper reporter from New York flies down there and basically gets to know him, in kind of this whole article interview thing, and it goes on from there. Second movie in that series I really like too. That's those two. The first two movies of the Crocodile Dundee series I really enjoy. Los Angeles, the third one, I'm not a big fan of. It doesn't feel nearly the same. It feels pretty lackluster to me. Phenomenon with John Travolta. That movie is basically somebody who is just this small town average Joe kind of thing. And it's all of a sudden he gains psychic abilities. And that's basically it. It really puts the whole psychic powers into a way that is real. It feels real. Like the whole social impact, they really focus on that. They really put it in a good light. Like there's a lot of good that can be done with these abilities. And it's I love it. It's a really good movie. I really don't want to say anything more because there's a lot to it. But it's all very easily spoiled. But that's the basic premise, and I kind of went over Evil Alien Conquerors. Basically, really low budget movie of alien invasion of two, and Supreme invading master race is not quite so master race. Hilarity ensues. So for the next question, if you could meet a celebrity, who would it be? I'm not big on celebrities personally. The whole fame kind of thing doesn't really appeal to me that much. But if I did have the chance to meet a celebrity, there's a couple that come to mind. I guess meeting Johnny Depp would be kind of cool. Just his whole viewpoint on things and um, that kind of thing would be interesting. But I don't know. What would you define as a celebrity? Just somebody who's really well known, or an actor, singer slash whatever, a pop icon? Because if it's just someone that's well known, then I guess I really don't know about this one because I'm not really interested in celebrities. I'm interested in people who are spreading movements for a different world. Um, and the first two people that come to mind, the first three people I should say, well, I guess technically four that come to mind, two of whom I've already met and worked with actually on a one-on-one basis or two-on-one basis. The first one that comes to mind is Vishen Lakhiani. He is the founder of a company called Mind Valley Academy. Well, I guess it's just Mind Valley, which is based in Indonesia. And he has a bunch of programs for basically revolutionizing our culture, our society, and bringing about changes to improve on our lifestyles and ourselves and the world around us. He's got some really good stuff. It can get pretty woo-woo sometimes, but it's good stuff. I think it would be, and he's experienced a lot, especially in the last 10 years, through running this company and hosting a bunch of different people for classes and stuff. So meeting him, I think, would be really awesome to get his perspective on things and learn some of the tools that he has, which is actually quite possible. I actually have one of his books called The Extraordinary Mind where he kind of goes over some of that. And he also has a bunch of festivals, which he calls A-Fest or Awesome Fest, where you actually can go and interact with him, except I don't have the money for that at this point in time, so oh well. But the other one that comes to mind is John Young, and he is I wouldn't call him the founder, but he is a major proponent in the return to primitive roots movement. And it's not in the sense of, oh, we need to go back to the Stone Age and live out in the woods and stuff for the rest of our lives, although that's perfectly fine. What he does talk about, though, is using those primitive skills and identifying with them and, just practicing them to, again, really change our lifestyle and bring about some much needed change and reconnection with people, people in nature, and people in themselves. That's really what he's going for. That's kind of what he's pushing and what he's leading on. Meeting him in person and maybe even having him as a mentor would be awesome. It's some pretty phenomenal stuff. So all of those people, I would highly recommend checking them out and seeing what they have to provide. I'm still trying to think about this celebrity question. It's just, it doesn't appeal to me. I'm not all about the celebrity thing. That's just me. So I hope that answered your question. Although it might not have, because I wasn't talking about celebrities specifically, although I did mention Johnny Depp, so. Moving on to the next question. What inspired you to start YouTube? I kind of went over this in my... Actually, I did go over this in a question in part 3 of this Q&A response series. Basically, it was other Let's Players that inspired me to begin with YouTube. Other Let's Players and other video makers out there. Some of which were simply picture compilations, and that's as much as I could do, and I did the best I could with it. So, yeah. It was watching other people do the YouTube thing that really inspired me to do it. And once I got started, I really enjoyed it, so I just kept going. And that's what brought me here today. So the next question, if you had the chance for a do-over in life, would you change anything? This is always a really hard question because if I say yes, there's the huge possibility of completely changing the outcome of my existence up to this point on whatever event I did over. There are a few things that I would like to pursue. Oh, chance for a do-over. This now takes me back to, I actually wrote a full novel when I was in 8th grade, I believe. And I actually wrote it in the span of like 6 months. Do I even still have the book? I have a copy of the novel that I wrote, but I don't remember if I kept the book that inspired me to do it, which was The Outsiders. It was a required reading in 8th grade for my class, and something just clicked with me where I ended up writing this entire story in a loose representation of my own life. And I showed it to some friends, and I got pretty good feedback for the most part, and then I showed it to one person who was my quote-unquote girlfriend in the book, and she felt really uncomfortable, and here's where I would want the do-over. I ended up deleting every single copy of that book that I had in my possession. Instead of taking the criticism and rolling with it, I ended up just taking it to heart and deleted every single copy off every single hard drive that it was on. So that's kind of what happened. And instead, what I think I should have done is what I really would have wanted to do is not necessarily delete it or publish it, but use it as a basis to look at it and say, I can complete stuff like this. And I know that had a major impact on me for a long time. And it still has to some extent today. Because I started on a second novel when I was in... I guess I was still in middle school. I guess it was still latter half of 8th grade when I started a novel. My second novel. That I ended up never finishing. I kept seeing more and more things that were wrong with it, and I enjoyed the writing process less and less, and it ended up being one big failure. And I know it's because of the fact that I ended up deleting the very first novel I wrote, which is not the greatest thing in the world. It's definitely not what I would call publishing material, but it's an okay book, I guess, especially for a 14-year-old. So it's okay. Definitely would want to do over of that. And the third thing that I would like to basically not do, actually, is I talked I actually can't remember if I answered it in this video or in my last video, but basically, one of the things I did was, this is in reference to Ahmad Iwaz. Oh, I really hope I'm pronouncing this correctly. Ahmad Awazim's question about me showing off videos, some of my old videos from 2009 and whatnot. One of the things that I really wish I didn't do is the fact that I deleted 80% of the Carnivore Cityscape funny moments that I had on this channel. That is a major regret of mine, and I wish that I hadn't done that. The last two things are things that I really wish I could change. And funnily enough, I actually found a copy of my story, of my novel that I wrote back in 8th grade, and finished. Thank goodness for email and sharing with people. I actually found it in an attachment. And somehow an entire novel is less than half a megabyte. Go figure. So yeah, that's, I hope that answers that question. And for Lady Flashheart's final question, if you were only allowed to play one game forever, what game would it be? I'm assuming you're talking about video games here, so I'm gonna stick with those. One game forever, that's, this is like Groundhog Day. Most of the games that are coming to mind are ones that I wouldn't play very much if I was forced to play it for the rest of my life. And I know this isn't necessarily talking about, my entire life and having to play it for the rest of my life, but only being allowed to play it, that one game, for the rest of my life. I'm trying to think of what that might be. I guess it would either be... Ugh. This is kind of a tough question. Because I don't really want to put down a horror game, because those are pretty linear and not very replayable for the most part. But I'm not huge into RPGs at this point in time. I guess Half-Life 2 might be a possibility. I'm not sure. Because, I mean, I don't know what it is about that game, but it's just, I can play that forever. Well, I can't play that forever, actually. It doesn't work, but it's one I find myself coming back to. FTL is too frustrating. Or it can be at times. Oh, dear. I think I'm coming up with 4 possibilities at this point. The first of which is Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. This game, it has so many possibilities for different clans and how you can level up your character and whatnot, and so many different possibilities that you have story-wise is what you want to do. I really love that game, even though I don't play it enough. And I would not mind playing that for eternity. I would not. I do enjoy that game. The second one on my mind is not Life is Strange. Where is it? I'm actually looking at my Steam library right now, even though you guys can't see it. The Long Dark. The Long Dark is not necessarily a roguelike, but it's kind of a sandbox survival kind of thing that takes place in the Canadian wilderness. And it's always wintertime when it happens. There's been like some major polar shift and whatnot, or a magnetic pole shift. And it's totally messed up the world. And you're stuck in Canada, and you're having to survive. And there's so many places, so many possibilities for what can happen, that I would not mind playing that game over and over and over again. And that kind of goes for Miasmata as well, Although the cat in that one's really annoying. Consortium's good, but I feel like I would eventually run out. I feel like it would eventually run out of stuff, but I don't know. That game's really in depth. And the final game that comes to mind is System Shock. The first one. I would have to say definitely the first one. The second one has a lot more replayability to it because of how you can choose what your character is, because there's a lot more RPG elements in it. But I played that game through once, and I didn't have much inclination to play back through it again. It's System Shock. Both games are really, really good. Don't get me wrong. But System Shock 1, I really enjoy. There's so much to it. There's just so much to it. System Shock 2, there's a lot to it as well. But I don't have that inclination to play it back through again. It feels like there's less. It's really weird because they added a lot of elements to it, but it also feels like there's less to it at the same time. Like there's less story and less to go through. Which is... I don't know why I would think that, because there's an entire RPG system. But in System Shock 1, I love how the main villain of that game, Shodan, is. And I don't like how she is in System Shock 2 nearly as much. As Fen Phoenix put it, who's only played the second game, by the way, I don't know what his opinion would be on the first one, but Shodan is the very mustache-twirling villain where she's a lot of talk and no do. I never thought of it until he put it that way, but it's just like that sort of feeling where it's like you really don't feel nearly as threatened as you do in the first one. And in the first one, she talks a lot, but she is the ruler of Citadel Station. And she is throwing what she has at you to kill you. So, I really like System Shock 1 more because of that. Alright, we got one more question, but before we go to that question, I just want to thank all of you for all the wonderful questions that you've asked. It's been a blast reading over them and answering them. You guys got some good ones in there. And I'm going to be doing this again sometime in the near future. I don't know exactly when. It might be in 2 months. It might be next year or something like that. But it is going to happen again. So yeah, I really love this whole community getting to know each other kind of thing. You guys asking me questions and me answering, and the whole interactivity between all of us in this channel's community. Like I've said before, this isn't really my channel anymore. I facilitate everything, and I facilitate the videos and make commentary and actually post videos and stuff, but you guys are the ones who are viewing these videos over and over again, or watching through the videos. You're the ones that are giving feedback in either likes, dislikes, or comments, letting me know about different things, maybe errors that I've made, or compliments, or questions that you may have, and all that kind of stuff. So it's really cool to have stuff like this to bring everybody closer together. This Q&A is now over, basically. So if you have a question that you didn't ask and I didn't answer, then no worries. I will be having another Q&A, and you can ask your question then. And I'll answer it then. So, that's all awesome stuff. But still, feel free to comment on my videos, guys. I really appreciate that kind of feedback. It's probably more important to me than the subscriptions or even the likes, I really enjoy reading your thoughts. Unless, of course, it's something derogatory and negative or something like that. But even constructive criticism I enjoy reading, so. But yeah, so thank you all again. And now we're going to get on to the last question. MPJ Vending asks, face reveal? Alright, I'll charge the camera.